guess Jonathan's not here. Good morning. I'd like to call the October Bricktown Urban Design Committee meeting to order. Paula, if you'd be so kind to do roll call.
Omar Curry.
Present.
Jonathan Dodson. Avis Scaramucci.
Present.
Santino Thompson.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. So we're going to follow the agenda item by item. So number 2 is approval of minutes. Have you guys reviewed any of the past meeting minutes?
I have.
Cindy, I know you weren't here, but I didn't have an issue with them either. So
Yeah, no issues for me.
can I get a motion?
Motion for approval.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And I'd like to abstain just because I wasn't present.
Noted. Motion passes. Item number 3 is cases withdrawn. We don't have any. Item number 4, continuance requests. We don't have any. I'd like to move items 7A and 7B up to be next in order rather than going to the consent docket. We now have Tom Wilson present. We'll leave 7A where it is. We'll just go to 7B since Mark is not here.
Great. Item 7B is to adopt a resolution recognizing Tom Wilson for his service on the Bricktown Urban Design Committee, and I will read the resolution. A resolution of the Bricktown Urban Design Committee of the City of Oklahoma City acknowledging Tom Wilson for his valuable service and dedication to the Bricktown Urban Design Committee. Whereas Tom Wilson has faithfully served the citizens of Oklahoma City as a member of the Bricktown Urban Design Committee from April 2008 to July 2016, and whereas the committee has benefited greatly from Tom's adept and prudent leadership, as well as the extensive breadth of his knowledge and expertise in architecture and design that he has consistently applied to the design review process. And whereas Tom Wilson has contributed to the committee through his astute insights, attention to detail, and judicious consideration of the facts in his decision-making. And whereas Tom Wilson has demonstrated uncommon dedication to the committee through his steadfast regard and faithful observance of the applicable development standards and design guidelines in consideration of projects presented to the committee. And whereas Tom Wilson's participation in the review of proposals presented to the committee has been characterized by a constant dedication and sincere interest in the successful long-term revitalization of Bricktown through the fair and equitable implementation of the code. And whereas Tom Wilson has consistently treated applicants, citizens, fellow commissioners, and staff with respect and courtesy. And whereas Tom Wilson's reasoned and rational approach, combined with his cooperative spirit, have served the community well in resolving conflicts and providing applicants with sound aesthetic and creative advice. And whereas the fulfillment of Tom Wilson's responsibilities on the committee was achieved with an admirable devotion to the well-being of the community and the overall betterment of the Bricktown district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bricktown Urban Design Committee hereby respectfully commends Tom Wilson for his outstanding years of service to the Bricktown Urban Design Committee of the City of Oklahoma City, adopted by the Bricktown Urban Design Committee of the City of Oklahoma City on this 12th day of October, 2016.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Tom, for your service.
And I would like to add to that, because cumulative years that you and I have served together on this committee, you have really been such a strength to all of us and provided such good judgment, and I very much appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Tom Wilson, and I appreciate the honor of working with all of you. I would like to make a couple of comments about this committee. I actually have served with all of you that are currently here. And I would encourage you in the future to consider each of the applicants that come before you in a very critical manner. We moved to Bricktown in 1987, almost 30 years ago, and a lot has changed in Bricktown since then. Property values have changed dramatically, and I think we're going to see a very new and different approach to development in Bricktown in the future. So I think it's going to challenge each of you to think very critically about the projects that are brought before you. I think there are times when projects will not fall comfortably within the guidelines that are available to you, and I think you need to consider whether or not it's appropriate to look beyond those guidelines to the merits of a project. Conversely, I think there are going to be projects that are going to fall comfortably within those guidelines, but may not be projects that we want to see either in Bricktown or in the downtown area. So I encourage you to be courageous in your evaluation. You are going to perform one function that I think is absolutely critical for this committee to achieve, and that is to our friends in the media, you're going to expose these projects for the first time to the citizens of the city. I think it's important that you have a dialogue about the merits of the project and allow the public to see what those projects are really about. So I'd like to thank all of you for being a part of this organization. To the staff, I think this is the best staff by far that I have ever seen assembled in support of your work. I think they'll continue to keep you out of trouble as they did me, and I appreciate the support that they gave me over the many years I've been here. So we hope to be before you on many different occasions with some bigger and better projects for Bricktown, and again, thanks to all of you for the support you have given me and the opportunity to work with you. Protect Bricktown.
Thank you, Tom.
You guys need to
Take
motion,
action.
actually adopt the resolution.
If you don't mind, Chair, I'd like to make a comment, and I think I can also motion. I would also like to thank Tom for his service and his guidance. When I first came onto the committee, his input, I think, and both things said and unsaid were very appreciative. So even when we disagreed or when he disagreed with the things that were coming up, I think that objective look and that critical look at what this committee is tasked to do, I think Tom, he embodied that very well. So I appreciate his service, and so I'm happy to make a motion to adopt this resolution for his committing his service to the committee.
I would like to second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. So we're going to skip item number 7A until Mark gets here, or we move it to the end. So we're just going to go with 5A now, the consent docket. Case number BCA 16-00019 at 425 East California Avenue. Michael?
This item is on the consent docket because it meets all the applicable development regulations and design guidelines, and we placed it on the consent docket for that reason. So at the pleasure of the commission, or the committee, excuse me, it's up to you whether you want to proceed with approving it under the consent docket or calling it off for an individual consideration.
Committee members?
I would like to, I'd like to look at it for individual consideration, at least have the artist or any of the individuals present get a chance to speak on the item.
Is the artist or the...
He's here.
The president?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to move that to just
Let's
keep
just do it now.
Yeah. All right. Please. Just state your name for the record, please.
Morning. Jack Fowler.
Is there something that you want to tell us about this?
Oh, I'm sorry. I
read
thought you
quite
had
a
questions
bit.
for me.
Well, let's start.
I'm ready to start. I'm excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about the project and sort of what you're proposing?
A giant octopus that covers the entire expanse of the building. I turned in a model, I think. You guys have a picture of it. And inside the body of the octopus, I'm going to hide a lot of hidden shapes and its coloration and hopefully make it kind of interactive with viewers. Yeah, there it is. I'm actually going to go project it tonight. I just like the shape of the building. I thought it lent itself well to that long horizontal shape. And the interactive element was something I was really interested in. So that's kind of why I came up with the idea. And I had no idea there was an ordinance. Before I submitted this, I had zero clue about so sorry I caused you all that trouble. I really didn't even know. But I'm excited to start.
I'll be first up. There was a time when it was really difficult to bring in fun artwork to this district. I think that we have found over time that it really makes for a more interesting community, particularly since I go in and out under the bridges every day of my life. I remember how dull and mundane they were for so long and foreboding, and that artwork has made a difference. And this is on the back side of something that I think kind of enhances the alleyway, walkway, if you will. And I don't think an octopus relates to anything in Bricktown, but it's just fun. So I would be pleased to have that just as a personal observation.
If I could ask a question to the staff, and I apologize, I did miss last month's meeting, but I don't think this was specifically addressed. The parking lot that's in front of this, has there been, can you kind of update us? I know it's kind of tangentially related, but can you update us on what the status of that is?
There was a recent administrative approval to revise the design of that particular parking lot. You can see a little bit here to the right side of the slide. There's a little bit of a grade difference between the existing parking lot at the corner and this part of the parking lot, which what you see in the picture is actually the floor of an old building that was removed here. And the reason that, one of the reasons that they did the revision was to, well, all the access previously was off of Joe Carter. And because of this grade issue and a couple other operational considerations, they decided to provide some driveways, accesses to the parking lot off of Sheridan. So this part that you see here will be accessed via the new driveways that are off of Sheridan. Now, there have been issues with the owner allowing parking to occur on this slab, and we think we have that under control, and that we're all on the same page now that the parking cannot occur on this portion of the parking lot until the improvements that were set forth in the certificate of approval are actually made to the site. So at this point in time, there should not be any parking going on there, but they do have 2 years to make those improvements before the certificate of approval runs out. And actually, it's probably about 18 months now because they were approved probably about 6 or 8 months ago. So, but in the meantime, until they make those improvements, they should not be able to use this portion of the lot as parking.
Jack, what's the time frame that you're looking at upon approvals that are required to do this work?
I'm sorry?
What's the time frame that you're looking at to do this work?
To complete it?
Yes.
I've never done anything on this scale before, but I'd be stunned if it took me more than 2.5 weeks. That's my guess, especially if I can get a lift.
Okay. And so, so you'd So once you got approval for this, I mean,
Under
it's-
3 weeks.
It's something that, yeah, probably be done this year.
Oh, I definitely hope so, yes, especially since it's getting colder. And
Yeah, we
Yeah,
were,
they've been waiting for this meeting. This is the last step they need before they
yeah,
get started.
we were trying to get it, well, first of all, they were caught between the old ordinance and the new. Under the old ordinance, we would have had to deny this application because of the rules that were in place. The new ordinance that took effect on September 17th now does allow murals like this. So they had to wait for that to take effect, but at the same time, they're trying to get this thing up and painted before the winter comes. So there was a possibility that this was going to be delayed till the November meeting, but we worked with them to make sure it got on this agenda so they could try and get it in before the winter hits. So
thank you, by the way.
And this has been approved already. It's gone before Arts Commission.
yes.
Yeah, so we are on the last leg of this process, is that correct? Okay.
All right. I think I have one more comment, if I may, and it's. I think I echo Avis's comments. I think, but it's also critical, which is why I kind of asked some of the other questions, and what I think is really important that this committee is looking at. Really, again, in keeping with some of Tom's comments, is thinking about projects like this in context of the rest of the community in Bricktown, and so I think. Understanding that there are changes coming to the parking lot and things like that, to me, are important, because otherwise I think it could sort of set a wrong trajectory to have this kind of artwork. Not that I'm against the artwork itself, but I think I look at these things and want to make sure that the public art is also pushing us forward as far as redevelopment of these areas of the community. And I think this will actually bring some visibility and some presence to that, as well as being a unique, but also a pretty impressive piece of artwork. So,
And I think it just makes the strong statement that change is on the way for close proximity of that lot.
yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, guys. So can I get a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the artwork presented by Jack Fowler to go on, just a moment.
I think it's Joe Carter, Charlie Christian Avenue.
Joe Carter and Charlie Christian Avenue. I think it should be painted as shown.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Moving down to agenda item 6A, cases for individual consideration. Item 6A is BCA 16-00016 at 323 East Sheridan.
Yeah, this is a proposal in the existing parking lot that is on the west side of North Oklahoma Avenue between East Sheridan and East Main to remove the existing parking attendant booth and existing signage from the subject site and to replace it with the new building. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
I'm on the wrong project.
okay.
Okay, this is 323 East Sheridan, near the corner of Russell and Perry. There's an existing building there, and the proposal is to remove the signage that is on the building and the canvas on the existing canopy frame, and to construct a new rooftop deck with a roof with a canopy and replace some doors on the front elevation, south elevation that is facing East Sheridan Avenue. We've done a review of the project and found it to be largely in compliance with the proposed, with the existing design guidelines and development standards. And again, this was filed prior to the effective date of the new regulations, so this is being reviewed under the old regs. And with regard to this project, there's not a lot of difference between the two in terms of how this applies. I mean, it would be compliant with both versions. However, when we visited the site, we did find that the canopy had been at least partially covered with what appeared to be pieces of scrap wood. And that caused us some concern. And you can see the photos of that canopy. Right here, it's 2 pictures. And obviously that was a concern for us because wood is not one of the recommended materials for Bricktown. So we had a conversation with the applicant about that and come to the conclusion that they're going to explore different material for the framing or the cladding of that canopy frame. And therefore, we're recommending approval of the project because it does comply, but with the condition that the wood that is on that canopy frame should be removed if it hasn't already been done, and that they return to us with a plan that clads that canopy frame in either some material that is compliant with the guideline or remove the canopy frame altogether, and that revision come back to staff as administrative approval. So that completes our presentation. We're prepared to respond to any questions the committee may have.
Just out of curiosity, Michael, what would be the difference in if this had come up prior to the new regulations versus now?
Like I was saying, I don't think, with respect to this particular proposal, it would comply with both versions of the old and the new.
I thought I understood that they had been waiting. Did I mishear that?
No, they're compliant with both versions,
okay.
but they're subject to the old rules because because of when they submitted the application.
Oh, okay, that's what I heard. Okay, thank you.
Is the applicant present?
Good morning. Tim Johnson with Johnson Associates here on behalf of the applicant. I'm not sure if staff or when staff spoke to our client last, but our last conversation with the client was that they would like to retain the reclaimed wood canopy unless, this board doesn't approve it, then they would look at other materials. But that's what they would like to have, is the reclaimed wood canopy. So as the staff eloquently defined all the other items we've submitted, and they meet and they're in compliance with the exception of the wood canopy, and I understand staff's position on that is it's not an approved material in the code, but it certainly is prevalent in Bricktown. And so one of the things we took a look at is, what are some of the other uses that have been allowed or approved and or ongoing. There's wood used in all sorts of venues around, as well as canvas, like on the mantle, for example. Their whole entryway is a canvas. I don't know that that's more or less attractive than a reclaimed wood in a warehouse district. So Spaghetti Warehouse had wood. There's wood rails on a new venue down in the Flaming Lips Alley. There's wood doors, barn doors used on many buildings in Bricktown. More specific to our block, the wooden doors here, wooden sliding doors here, the wooden rail. There's just a lot of wood that's integrated with the brick and steel that's in this area. So that's one of the reasons why the developer wanted to use the reclaimed wood, is to draw a little attention to the older wood accent at the front of the building. The old canopies that were here, and I did this series of buildings. This was an old empty tooth block that was missing several fronts. I don't know if you guys recall, there was a roof in one spot and nothing else many years ago, and we came and did these fronts and reclaimed the building footprints, and the canvas canopies didn't last. I mean, they were rags years ago. So anyway, so with regard to that, we would like to ask this board to consider the reclaimed wood canopy at their entrance, and then we agree with staff on everything else with regard to this application.
I'd like to make a few comments and ask a couple of questions. The reclaimed wood, did that come from the inside of the building?
I don't know that answer. Mark, do you know?
It's our understanding that when they ordered the wood for the inside of the building, this was their intent, so that this wasn't leftover wood. This was part of the project as it was originally ordered from the supplier.
So it's not reclaimed, really, it's just new wood that was left over?
Yeah, it's not reclaimed from the interior of the building, so it's not, I wouldn't call it scrap wood.
Mark Zizzo with my office. But they're using this material inside the building as well. So it's a reclaimed product, but not from the inside of this building.
I have a few comments to make on the plan and elevations and everything that was submitted here. Michael, can we go to the plans real quick? She can have the plans.
I think you passed it.
Yeah, he did pass.
There you go.
Well, there we go.
Okay. There's a number of inconsistencies that I can't clarify, but first of all, on that elevation, they're showing the top of the windows, doors all to be the same. Are they infilling, because that horizontal line that exists there on the drawings does not exist on the photos? Are they infilling the brick above that? And are they modifying that window on the east side of the building? Because the pictures actually show a 4x4 window system, and they're showing a 4x3.
Oh, I see your comment, yeah. It is not their intent to change the windows. The windows as on the actual photograph are what will remain.
So
The architect didn't pick up the 4x4 when he drew his elevation.
So you're still showing that horizontal line for the top of the windows, doors, all the way through. If you go back to the photos, they're really not. There's a difference between the door frame.
It's hard to see in the photograph, but
There's another photo. Keep going. There you go.
Yeah, you're right. The door is probably about 6 inches lower than the top of the windows. The windows are lined up pretty consistently with the architect's elevation of the bottom of the canopy, lining up with the header plate of the windows.
And there's actually a recess there where the entry doors are that's not shown on the elevations either.
Right. If you can go back, I'm sorry, Michael, if you can go back to that same photo. On the window on the west side, they're calling out to remove and install a garage door. The sill of that window is probably, looks like it's about 18 inches above the finished floor. Are they taking that part of the brick out? Because it doesn't show that on the elevations.
They would have to get the overhead door to work, yes.
Okay, let's go back to the plans.
Right.
Oh, let's stay here for a second. This is when you say new fabric canopy structure and it's a blank drawing, that at least a lot of, it could be anything. It could be polka dots. I don't know what that material is. I don't know what the colors are. What's supporting that 50-foot span? There's a lot of things that are unknown at this point, because I don't see what all that is. Even the doors and the door frames. I think one of the cut sheets showed them as anodized, a dark anodized material, but the existing frames on the windows are white. There's just a lot of inconsistencies outside of the wood canopy. The floor plans called for a new stair. It's not showing except on the floor plan, but if you go to the elevations, there's really nothing there to show what that enclosure is made out of.
The new stair up to the roof deck.
And is that, that's has this been submitted for permitting?
Well, it may have, but we wouldn't know that.
Tim, has this been submitted?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think once you submit it for permit, there's going to be some changes.
Well, and I was talking to Michael before the meeting that whatever the roof height has to be, we'll have to come back to this committee. We have not been provided with what materials they want to use on that at this time. They wanted to get the doors changed out and the interior on the facade, on the main floor facade to work with the interior. I'm not sure what their timing is and the phasing of getting the roof deck.
Go ahead.
Well, how about we come back to Omar? I feel like you got a few comments, but you're probably going to steal some of our thunder a little bit.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. But Avis, why don't you go first, please?
Well, I had some concerns about, the last time I served on this committee, it seemed to be that the standard practice was that materials were brought for us to review. And I did not know if that had been, if it had been decided that was not necessary.
It has not.
Because I also don't understand if you're changing out all of the windows to a darker finish, and I would like to see that. I had some concerns, and maybe this is an okay thing to do, but I'm not sure about putting a garage door on the face of a building. And I wasn't sure about also some of the signage. There seems to be this Lucha Loca. I assume that's the name of this. Are you saying it's going to be on the doors as well as signage next to it?
Yeah, there'll be the blade sign is shown on the elevation and then on the doorways.
And this may already be in existence. Is there an enclosed trash receptacle for that area already, or is it?
It's off of Main Street.
Yeah.
There is already.
Yeah, that was done
Okay,
back
thank
when the
you.
buildings were done years ago.
It's not great, but it's probably nothing we can do about it now.
And my last comment for right now is I was concerned. It seems like it's a problem when people do things prior to asking for permission. It always puts everyone in a bit of an awkward spot.
You know, I agree with that 100%.
So I
Puts
would.
us in a bad place, too. And
Yes. So
we
I
didn't
would-
know they had done that until it happened.
I understand there's an old adage, something about blow it up and then ask for forgiveness. So I'm hoping that we can start over on that particular item. And that's it for just right now.
So some of my comments, I think, will echo the other committee members. I'm probably going to make a little bit of a statement, and I'll ask maybe Michael to help me out. Because I think, so I kind of, in hearing the wood, just addressing the wood facing, that canopy piece first. I mean, so we have both canvas and wood, and I agree actually with some of the comments that Tim made about the canopies. I think a challenge, even though I think they are a pretty allowed use, they're used quite frequently. I don't know if any of those sort of requirements have changed, but canopies I think have not held up well, and so the designs, you know, can typically look pretty well with those, with the fabric canopies, but they haven't held up over time. And I think that was a very astute observation, because I actually have a challenge with the canopies, the canvas canopies, and the wood. I think with the wood, it's the size and the prominence of that out front. So I think in some of the other instances we talked about, so we have a deck made out of wood, which I think is, to me, it says something a little bit different than having that element sort of prominently featured, kind of juxtaposed in with the building. And then if there were wood timbers or wood members or something like that we use to accentuate, which I think we have seen some of those kind of elements, I think that's a little different than, this canopy sort of really superstructure being out front. So that was just kind of thoughts and feedback on that. I don't think that I'm a fan. I do understand the intent, and I think Omar kind of hit on one of the questions I had, which is whether we're trying to take some historical elements and then repurpose them for the exterior, I'm still not convinced that's kind of how I would want to see it happen, or kind of how I would appreciate it happening. But that's a little different, I think, than just trying to bring that element. I get with the interior that might be sort of the theme of the building, and I think that's a separate issue, obviously. But I think it really kind of goes larger to a point of that both committee members so far have spoken on, and it's hard for me to get a feel. Like, I think right now with the plans presented, I would be uncomfortable approving anything regarding the rooftop because I think that the elevations there are a little bit inconsistent. I mean, I think so we're bringing this pretty significant canvas canopy in there, and really not sure what that will look like. I mean, from an elevation standpoint, I think the schematics are there, but I just don't get a feel for what the visual of this building's going to be when it's all said and done. And I'm not sure if I might be alone in that, but that's kind of the gist of it. And then I think there are some inconsistencies, especially considering that we're talking about demoing and some tear out of that storefront. I just really feel more comfortable with it being really clear exactly what was going to be pulled out, what the new was going to look like going in. So I'm leaning towards wanting to continue the application in order to see some of those elements maybe better fleshed out. But if we did proceed with it, I think I'd have a really hard time approving some of the elements that are presented here.
Well, could we ask for some samples of things that you're proposing to use? And I think it's particularly an issue on the windows, since they're currently white. I have one more signage question. What is the little sign to the side? Is that just somebody saying that this was done by, Michael, let me see if it's in here somewhere. Oh, Rogers. What is
that's
the
temporary in nature?
Oh, that's a temporary banner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
May I make a comment or two in response?
Yes, of course.
And I respect your comments and appreciate them. I think that over the last couple of years, maybe a year and a half or so, we have been submitting photographs of materials or fixtures or things like that, and you'll see on the next application, rather than haul the fixture in, we have a picture of it. And, you know, that's the attempt that they made with regard to submitting the system for the overhead door, which is included in the packet. So obviously we didn't bring that material in. You're right. We need to clarify with the architect the intent of, I think he just mislabeled the windows, and I apologize for that. And we can make sure that that's clear. On the canopy on the roof, they show it in schematic, but you don't see what color it is or material it is. And so I can make sure that we can bring that to you as well. And so with that, I think we'll ask for a continuance, and we'll come back in November and bring you some materials.
And Tim, maybe decide on the window what that material is, what really color it is, if you're going to change them all out, or
Yep.
And if you are, what color it's going to be.
My understanding was that was not their intent to change the windows out or modify any of the frames of the doors or windows, except for the overhead, which would remove the ledge of the brick on the bottom.
Okay. All right.
And if you could bring specs on the wood that you're proposing to keep
Yeah.
on the canopy, because frankly, that's a concern we raised in our staff report. We don't know how weatherproof that is, and it may not hold up any better than the canvas does. So,
And we can bring that.
What were they thinking of the top of that canopy and the bottom of that canopy as well? Is it
Well,
lit?
it's just a canvas material is what I understood. As far as on the roof you're talking about?
No, on the canopy itself that's on the...
Oh, the wood canopy?
Yeah.
I don't know what material they're going to use to provide the rain break, for lack of better words.
And then the bottom, the soffit.
The underside, the soffit, we'll find out.
It would be helpful if there was a color rendering that kind of
Sure.
varies all of that as well.
Yep. And I apologize on behalf of the client that they jumped out there and got that. They're in a hurry to open. You know, sometimes it's hard to pull the reins back.
Yeah. I mean, if I could just, one more comment. consistent with what Avis was saying, make sure, I think that at least that we're on the same page and communicating clearly. I don't think, at least over the past few years that I've been on the committee, we have an expectation of bringing tons of materials either. Because I understand, I think most of us understand, they can be pretty cumbersome. So I think some of those attempts that have been made to show and display. I mean, sometimes when you have questions about brick and sometimes you got questions about specific colors, it's good to get the sample color or sample brick, because it goes a long way to help. But I don't think we want people traipsing in. You know, we're not the architects getting submittals from contractors, right, to go in and review those things. I don't want people to have that perception. I don't think that's what we're saying either.
No, certainly not, but I noticed in another thing we're fixing, another consideration, there is something listed just as a red brick, and that is a very wide spectrum of colors. So I think reasonable things would be expected, but not 10-foot poles.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
One last thing. My Spanish is a little rusty, but I'm pretty sure Lucha Loco is not Candy Nightclub. Why is there two different?
It was originally called the Candy Nightclub when we made the application. They've changed the name mid-review.
Okay.
So, and I don't know what it means either. So.
Well, it's a good thing that name was on there. That helped me. I knew where that was.
It's currently Candy Nightclub.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tim, the November meeting is November 9th.
Okay.
We would need the revised drawings within a week.
Okay.
Is that
We'll pass that on.
doable?
We will make every effort to get that to you. And if we don't, we're in December. If you're going to have a December meeting.
Right now, we're not scheduled to have a right now we don't have any other cases for
Oh, I see.
November. But if we continue this to November, then we have to meet to hear it or continue it again. So
We'll make every effort to get you everything you need in a week.
Chair, I would like to move to continue this until the next meeting. Continue this application until the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. All right. Item number 6B, case number BCA-16-00018 at 25 North Oklahoma Avenue.
Yeah, my apologies. This is the one I started on last time. Again, this is a parking lot on the west side of North Oklahoma between East Sheridan and East Main. See it here on the map. There is an existing parking attendant booth. It's kind of a small metal shack, and then along with that there are a variety of parking control devices and bollards and low yellow painted rail fencing. They're proposing to remove all that and replace it with a 540 square foot brick building that has space for not only the parking attendant booth but also for a undetermined concession booth facility in the building as well. So here you see the site, and pretty much the building is going to go right where this red truck is. This is looking from the south, looking north, and then from the other direction, looking south. This is the booth that we removed, and these are the bollards and control gates and so on and so forth that would be removed to make way for the new structure. And you have a variety of existing structures around the site. The Mighty Key building's been renovated, Bricktown Brewery to the south, Holiday Inn Express to the northeast, Standley building to the north. We have reviewed the application, and by and large, the project is in great compliance with the applicable development regulations and design guidelines, with one exception, and that is the height of the building. The code requires a minimum height for new construction of 25 feet. This building is approximately 12 feet tall, and this is not unlike the golf shack building that was approved for the mini golf course over there on the canal that also had to have a variance for the height. So building this size, it does make a lot of sense to make it 25 feet tall. So we've reviewed that and made a recommendation to the committee that you make a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment to support the variance that will be necessary to build this project. That completes our presentation. We're prepared to respond to any questions the committee may have.
Is the applicant present?
Hopefully this one won't be as brutal. Tim Johnson again on behalf of the applicant. This is an opportunity really to do something. I know this committee has really worked hard to get rid of parking shacks, and especially ugly parking shacks. And so the applicant really wants to, with the advent of the Holiday Inn Express, it's created a lot more pedestrian traffic on Oklahoma over the last year or so. So this is the old Ironworks building that's been renovated on the corner. The backside still is vacant. They use it to store carriages right now. So this is the little island at the east end of the parking lot. And what will happen, as Michael delineated, is the building will be a combination for a little venue, possibly like a snow cone stand or a coffee, seasonal something. The parking attendant would be over here, but it would have a shared restroom inside of it. So that's really the key, is they've wrestled over the years of, having the attendant not have a place to wash up and things like that. So that's the big advantage to this for the developer and his parking lot attendant. He is also changing his parking operations to go electronic. He's getting more monthly users in there. So as you are aware, if you've been down there, they put the new sign, Bricktown Square parking sign there at the little alley entrance just west of my building, and that will be an electronic monthly location for people to come in, use their card, and go park. So that's a big advantage. We did submit to the staff a brick on this. You probably didn't bring it, though.
I was told the color and the manufacturer, but I don't think we ever actually got a sample.
Okay. We were told that a sample was brought down, but we did provide a colored manufacturer, and, this is just colored for your presentation. This gives you an idea of what they are proposing. Pretty simple, straightforward, with the signage wrapped on a band on top that matches a lot of the stuff in Bricktown. Windows, nice lighting, handicap accessibility to the restroom and to the parking attendant booth. And then they'll share an entrance into this space. The light fixture is that fixture. And this is just to show you this is one of those compact air conditioning units, but it'll be up on the roof. But that's the size of it. It's not very big at all. You can buy these at Home Depot for your house. And that's really about it. I think we do understand we have to go to the Board of Adjustment to get a variance on the height. As Michael indicated, a 25-foot building this size would look a little funny. We've provided the wall sections and the floor plans and everything pursuant to the requirements. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I do want to point out that we got a revised elevation late in the process that showed the location of that air unit, and it's somewhere in this area here. It was too late getting to us to put it in your packet. So the parapet on this building is too shallow to actually screen material, so we've been told it was being mounted on the side of the building, on the rear side of the building, away from the street, facing the parking lot.
So you're saying it is on the side?
That's what I was told.
I misspoke. We were originally thinking it was on the top, but it'll be mounted to the side, on the blank side, west side of the building. I apologize. I think the original thought was they would like to put it on the roof, but because of the shallow parapet, so it would be mounted in here.
So I wonder, Tim, can you tell me, is that a public restroom, or is it just?
No, it'll only be for the users of the building.
So for people, is this a concession area that people can go in, a retail area?
No, no entrance into the building.
Okay.
It'll just be a walk-up window.
Okay.
We're going to add a brick walkway from the existing sidewalk on Oklahoma to the building to create that pathway, and it'll be something simple,
Okay.
nothing crazy.
You would know I would love to see a brick and a sample of a window color, if that's possible at all. Also, the black canvas awnings, the purpose of those, and I know there's a variance required, is that to announce the,
That's
is
the
that
brick
to
color.
announce the concession stand or whatever, or is it just naming it Bricktown Square again, or what?
They want the ability to put the name of the concession on the canopy, but the Bricktown Square is the only painted name on the building.
I'm sorry, would you tell me on the awning again? I was,
So if this is Joe's Snow Cone Shack,
okay,
we're going to put Joe's Snow Cone Shack on the
Okay.
canopy. Bricktown Square is the name of the building.
okay,
And that's what Jeff has dubbed the parking lot.
okay. And you think it is a seasonal business?
No, I'm not positive. I mean, I think it could be. It's just really going to depend on pedestrian traffic, how much.
Okay.
If it continues the way it's going right now, it'll probably be open all year round, because Bricktown becomes more festive in the winter, and we get a lot more people walking down Oklahoma.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Is that, have you,
Thank you. I think I would just say, I mean, obviously, I think the height variance makes a lot of sense, so I think that kind of goes without saying. I walk by this parking lot just about every day that I'm actually walking through Bricktown, and so I'm really excited to see this kind of change coming, because I do think, I mean, it's really taking kind of an eyesore for whatever reasons and turning it into something that I think is a lot more fitting with what we've been hoping to get. And so because of all that, I'm reluctant to be too critical. Probably my only challenge is, I think, especially with small buildings like this, it'd be nice to see variation in the brickwork, because with the larger buildings, obviously, that it tends to come into it, because we don't, with massing, you're going to kind of break those big facades up. With these small buildings, it'd be nice to see some variation or some decorative elements in the brick, just so they're not just kind of small brick sheds or whatever. But this is definitely better than what's existing, so I'm hesitant to really make too much of an issue about that, except to make the comment.
well, and truthfully, it is really on the higher end of improvements for a parking
Yeah.
facility.
Unfortunately, we probably won't drive, big $50 square foot rents or anything out of that. So.
I find it interesting that the Brewers just put in 3 new parking attendant buildings, and since I look at one all day, every day, it would have been nice if they would have been brick, but I appreciate that they finally addressed a bathroom issue, because it is an issue. But I think I agree with Sandino. I think it's a major improvement in that area.
I'd like to echo Sandino's comments about, rather than making it just a rectangular box, do something special with some of that brick at pretty much no cost, no additional cost.
Right.
Just play with the patterns a little bit. Outside of that, it is a ton of improvement to what's there now.
We would agree with that if we could bring back something that staff can review and not have to come back to the committee, but agree to add some patterns and designs in the brick. I agree with you. It's just there's no additional cost to add some patterns and some columnar work up and down.
Yeah,
Color are the windows?
I'm very comfortable with that. I appreciate that.
What color are the windows? Just out of curiosity.
I'm sorry?
Aren't there windows in this? Yeah, lots of windows.
Yeah.
What color is that? Is it an aluminum?
It's aluminum frame. Did Jeff pick out a color? It's black. Black frame. Apologize, we didn't get that sample to staff.
Okay. So what do we need to do, Michael, to make this?
At the end of your staff report, page 3, there's 2 motions outlined for you in the staff report. Approve the application with a condition for the variance, and then to provide a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment.
All right. I'm happy to make a motion if so pleases the chair. I'll move, one, that we approve the application with the, I guess with an administrative approval on a relook at some patterns and designs for the brick. And then I would also like to provide a recommendation of approval to the Board of Adjustment for the variance.
That needs to be 2 separate actions.
motions. Okay, so first motion would be that we approve the application with the administrative approval of some variation or some kind of design patterns in the brick.
And a condition that they get the variance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And with the condition that the color samples that we saw are what will be carried through.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a second?
I would second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Now we need to do another motion for the,
So I would move that we recommend approval to the Board of Adjustment for the variance being requested for this project.
I second that.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you all for your patience on this. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, so we're going to keep on skipping 7A.
Mark won't be able to be here after all, so we can go ahead and
Okay, so item 7A.
act or just act.
Do what?
We should go ahead and take action on his resolution.
Okay.
Instead of continuing it. Again, I'm not sure when he'll be able to make it next, but
You
we
need-
can get it to him by mail.
Okay. Do you need to read it?
Yep, I will read it in. A resolution of the Bricktown Urban Design Committee of the City of Oklahoma City acknowledging Mark Crittenbrink for his valuable service and dedication to the Bricktown Urban Design Committee. Whereas Mark Crittenbrink has faithfully served the citizens of Oklahoma City as a member of the Bricktown Urban Design Committee from November 2008 to July 2016, and whereas the committee has benefited significantly from Mark Crittenbrink's adroit and insightful leadership, as well as his expansive knowledge and experience in architecture and design that he has judiciously applied to the design review process, and whereas Mark Crittenbrink has contributed to the committee through his objective instincts, attention to detail, astute insights, and consideration of the facts in his decision-making, and whereas Mark Crittenbrink has demonstrated uncommon dedication to the committee through his constant regard and faithful adherence of the applicable development standards and design guidelines in consideration of projects presented to the committee, and whereas Mark Crittenbrink's participation in the review of proposals presented to the committee has been characterized by a steadfast dedication and genuine interest in the successful long-term revitalization of Bricktown through the fair and equitable implementation of the code, and whereas Mark Crittenbrink has consistently treated applicants, citizens, fellow commissioners, and staff with respect and courtesy, and whereas Mark Crittenbrink's rational and measured approach, combined with his cooperative spirit, have served the community well in resolving conflicts and providing applicants with sound aesthetic and creative advice, and whereas the fulfillment of Mark Crittenbrink's responsibilities on the committee was achieved with a commendable devotion to the well-being of the community and the overall betterment of the Bricktown district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bricktown Urban Design Committee hereby respectfully commends Mark Crittenbrink for his outstanding years of service to the Bricktown Urban Design Committee of the City of Oklahoma City. Adopted by the Bricktown Urban Design Committee of the City of Oklahoma City on this 12th day of October, 2016.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 7B, committee bylaws. Consideration and possible action on the proposed revisions to the bylaws.
These are the new bylaws that we've crafted to take into account, and the revisions that you see within the body of the bylaws are basically done to take into account the recently adopted ordinance update for Bricktown. So primarily they done to reflect the fact that you're going to have 7 committee members instead of 5 from now on, and there's a few other minor changes that reflect a variety of concerns that have come up over the past, 3 years since the last time we adopted these bylaws. So if you have any questions, we're prepared to respond to any questions the committee may have.
Michael, will all of the committees, the numbers increase on them, or just the Bricktown?
Everybody else, I think, is already 7 or more.
Okay.
And so right now, this is, well, actually, that's not true. Stockyards is 5. And this one is 5. And I think one of the reasons we've come to the conclusion that we need to increase the membership is because because of the membership requirements having a lot to do with people that are either property owners or developers in Bricktown, we end up with some issues when trying to get a quorum.
Yes.
And by adding a couple of other members and not making them tied to the Bricktown community, it gives us a little more flexibility in terms of getting to a quorum and not having to continue items and things like that.
I think I also would appreciate some additional thoughts on it.
Can I get a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the new Oklahoma City Bricktown Urban Design Committee bylaws and rules of order.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 8, communications. There's a new Bricktown Core Development District handout.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you can put a big X on the old one in your binders and put that one in. That reflects the ordinance update this past year.
Administrative approval report.
We have 3 items on the agenda today. One is a revision to the hotel approval that was granted in 2013 on the east side of Lincoln by the 235 freeway. They were entered into some lengthy negotiations with ODOT with respect to the need to widen the 235 to accommodate an off-ramp. And as a result, that impacted the site plan of their project and, in fact, moved the property line. And as a result of that, they had to modify the footprint of their building at the northeast corner. So it's in the backside. You won't be able to see any changes from the street. And it's pretty straightforward. Item 2 is a revision to the sign that is going over the driveway entrance on East Sheridan into the Steel Yards apartment project. And then thirdly, there's a proposal that has been approved that revises the elevations and provides an outdoor patio at the southwest corner of East Main and Central, across from the Domino's. Don't have any idea who the tenant would be there yet, but it's really kind of set up to be more of an outdoor dining opportunity there, so we'll see how it goes.
Any comments from the committee? I have one quick question, Michael. On the windows that are getting removed and replaced on that item 3, are there any windows of historical nature at all, or?
Well, it's hard to say whether we don't believe they're original windows, no.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just to refresh my memory, Michael, on administrative approval reports, these are things that you have already reviewed.
These are things that staff has already approved, and we're just kind of giving you a kind of an update monthly on
Okay.
what's gone through across our desk. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing, I'm not sure if we've reported out to the committee a change in our process for administrative approvals. They're now publicly noticed, so we only issue them on Mondays. There was always a 10-day appeal period, which people may or may not have ever observed, but now we don't mail them out until the end of the 10 days. We send out public notices to property owners within 150 feet. So that usually we used to just report them out here so nobody might even know that there was an opportunity to weigh in on something that had happened. But now there is, and so far we've worked really hard on our process to make it not very cumbersome on staff, and I think it's working pretty well. People haven't complained. We have gotten one appeal filed off of a downtown case, so that kind of proves that people are paying attention and taking interest.
So do you feel like the public is aware now that the process has changed?
Yeah,
or-
much more, yes.
Okay, I think that's excellent.
Are there any comments from staff?
Everybody should have gotten an email, save the date for the December 9th Commissioner Training. It'll be our 3rd annual, so we're working to make it full of good information and to change it up a bit from last year so no one expects it's always exactly the same.
Any comments from the committee?
Is there a test at the end?
All right, so the next meeting date is November 9th. Are we set for that?
As Lisa was mentioning on the 323 Sheridan case, we don't have any other cases currently filed for that meeting, so normally we would not have an agenda or a meeting that day, but because we did continue the one item today to that meeting, we will have that meeting for that item.
If they get enough information.
We will meet regardless, because if they don't get us the material, we'll still have to meet just to continue it again.
In continuing it, it's been placed on the agenda. Before it was continued, there was nothing on the agenda.
Can we not continue it to the next
Not
Yeah,
now.
well, the
open meeting?
Not
Yeah,
now.
and I think there's not
Well-
one scheduled for December, so I think it's a opportunity for them to get this in before basically January.
You might want to let them know that.
Well, and I've been working with them furiously just to get it to today's meeting, and my experience with them has been that they are fast but not necessarily accurate. So hopefully we caught all the issues in the comments that were given by the committee today, and I will work with them the rest of the week to make sure we have something on my desk by early next week so we can put it on the November agenda.
Great. Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
All right, so I call this meeting adjourned.